All right, it's 11 o'clock. Let's dive in. I want to welcome Mickey and Dot Compliance, and I also want to welcome all our registrants. Um, I'm Nicolle Cannon, we run the Cannon Quality Group, and the reason that we have this series actually came out of first, I wanted to just do it for my organization. So many clients come to us and ask us, what's a good eQMS solution? And for me, it's always, it depends on, it depends. And that's, if you know me at all, that's going to be my answer to most things. Um, and I wanted to create a series for my team so they could learn about all the eQMSs, learn about the different solutions, so they could be educated to talk to clients. And then I thought, why keep it there? Why not just make this a bigger series that people can have a safe space to learn and not feel like they're being sold, but they have a chance to kind of look under the hood of an eQMS, hear what the strengths are, and if it's a fit for them, and ask them questions. And then decide if they want to go further. So that's kind of the birthplace of this series and why we're here. And just to give you a little bit of background about CQG, we're your go-to quality department at this point. We like to be serve as the quality department for our clients through all stages of development. We focus on trying to translate regulations into sustainable solutions. We try to meet the clients where they're at. I have a long history in quality, and I believe it's important to understand where an organization is and what their goals are to figure out how to put policies and procedures in place to meet their goals and meet the promises they're going to make with FDA. That's all we're going to talk about with me. We're going to move over to you now, Mickey. Let you take the baton.
That's awesome. Thank you, Nicolle, and thank you everyone for joining today. Really appreciate it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are around the globe. I'm very honored to be here today. I'm Mickey Landkof, and I'm the General Manager and VP of Sales for Dot Compliance in North America. And we're here to talk about the paradigm shift for medical device companies, and it's applicable for really all life science organizations around the quality and compliance space and what's going on these days in here. So let me shift to the next slide. In terms of the agenda of what I'm going to cover today, there's going to be essentially two parts. So there's a couple slides here we're going to go through in the next few minutes to talk about kind of what kind of the situation analysis is that is fueling this paradigm shift. We'll talk about the need for speed. I want to say even more so today than in the past because of COVID especially. This whole digital transformation has just taken off and has significantly accelerated because of that. And then I'd like to jump into a demo and show you our solution, the Dot Compliance Quality Compliance Solution, kind of high-level overview so you can get an idea of what that looks like. So I think without further ado, we'll move to the next slide here and talk about the situation analysis. So let's start basically talking about the challenges that we face. Basically, this is the challenges that players in this market are facing these days, and they're actually quite numerous. Just kind of going through these items one by one, starting from the top left, of course, good old compliance. Regulatory environment has always been there, and honestly, it looks like recently it's become even more significant. So, of course, we're dealing with 21 CFR that's been around for a while, and the various ISOs, including 13485 and 14791. As of late, for those of you on the call that are in Europe, dealing with MDR and everything around that, a lot of more stringent requirements in general around post-market surveillance, for example, reporting requirements, audits that go with it, a lot of stuff to deal with for sure. And of course, we're all in here trying to reduce the regulatory compliance risk associated with it. It's just a lot of work to be done, and you want to have the proper environment to support it. This all leads, of course, to the need to reduce risk. So wanting to reduce risk and detect issues earlier, of course, that come with it. I've recently been reading about this big recall that Philips has had. I don't know if you guys heard about it with their BiPAP and CPAP DreamStation product. I think they say it's going to cost them close to $1 billion when all things are said and done. And it's one of those things I'm sure that they would have wished that they could have detected earlier, right? So.
Right.
Visibility and this is just one example. I'm not calling out Philips, of course, right? There's recalls pretty much every year for different things, but that one is one that was pretty notable because it's quite significant and obviously from a reputable producer such as Philips. In terms of visibility and traceability, again, the need today even more so, and this kind of goes together with the collaboration piece here. We've all had to go through this. I don't know. It happened sometime in early March, as far as I'm concerned, but maybe in different places it happened different times. Of course, the COVID and the corona that interrupted our lives and the quarantine that went with it, and basically a lot of the processes that we've been used to in terms of being able to go on site and collaborate, meet with people, have visibility to what's going on was significantly interrupted. And for those who actually needed to be on site or meet with team, it was basically a stoppage, a real interruption. Everything came to a screeching halt. So the challenge here is, even in these type of circumstances, how do we ensure we have continuous visibility and traceability into our day-to-day operations, right? How do we get real-time updates, even if we can't make it to the office, right? If we're quarantined somewhere and locked in a room or whatnot, or we have some of our team members located in different parts around the globe and we can't meet with them anymore and discuss certain things. So these are, of course, challenges that have always been around, especially with globalization. That, I mean, we're all part of that today, and a lot of our stakeholders that help us in the process in our day-to-day operations and production and whatnot, and even on the commercial side, are everywhere pretty much, right? It's kind of like a flat world that way.
Yeah,
of course,
truly.
here.
One thing I'm gonna do really quick, Mickey, is I'm gonna drop our first poll question out there as we get into this end of this piece of the slide. Everybody, you'll see a poll question coming out, and just sharing your interest and see where you guys are at. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll continue. Thank you for answering the poll. And then, of course, just trying to be always more efficient. There's only 24 hours in a day, and a lot of stuff's going on. And we need to try to make our operations and business more efficient, especially because of the global change. We definitely want to get products out in the market quicker, right? I think, again, COVID emphasized furthermore the need to be able to do that. We needed diagnostic tools out there quickly. We needed, of course, the vaccine out there and whatnot. And for the most part, whoever was able to kind of benefit on the infrastructure to support that and was efficient to begin with, may have ended up like in a better place, right? Depending on the situation. Quality culture is always out there as a challenge, continues to be. Again, with all these moving parts, add to that pandemic and the regulations and everything, it's getting even more challenging to make sure that we instill a quality culture and we have standard processes and tools and methods across the organization. So again, no shortage of challenges for sure. And with that, I'm going to move to the next slide here and talk about the need for speed. Okay.
Before we go there, just to give you a sense, it looks like the poll's coming in, and we have a pretty an audience that covers all spectrums. We have a couple manual, a couple digital, or most of them are in the digital, a few that are connected, and one so far that's intelligent. So just good range of audience for you today on your demo and stuff.
Yes, it looks like a lot of folks are already digital, which is impressive, right? And the push towards that is definitely something that everybody should be mindful of. Absolutely. Okay, so part of that is related to this slide, right? The need for speed, and I kind of want to shatter a myth. As it says here, as a medical device manufacturer, you do need a costly and complex quality management system that takes months to configure and implement. And of course, continuously surprise you with hidden fees and updates. So said
Mhm.
no one, of course, right? We don't want to necessarily have to do that, but
But it is an amazing myth. I mean, I love that you said that. I mean, it really
it
is
it
like
is.
this thing
It
nobody
is.
wants to talk about is out there. They don't.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a few minutes when we get into an example of our system. But I'm honestly asked more times than not, where's the catch?
Hmm. Hmm.
Which I think stems from this quite a bit. So here's the reality. There are today definitely tools and processes and systems that within weeks can bring you up to speed. Everybody, I think, today understands the concept of cloud systems. We use cloud systems all the time, right, on our phone for different applications, with our banking, with every day in our day-to-day life, even ordering food, and not to mention Uber and Lyft and all those companies. Everybody is cloud-based today for the most part, and which provides a lot of benefits, right? The cloud solution. And so together, couple that with the ability to kind of create a quality environment that's already pre-configured. At the end of the day, quality management is not a new concept, right? It's been around for decades, and it went through different evolution. And today, basically, we know that certain things are pretty much standard across the board. We manage documents in certain ways, different types of processes around cloud with deviations and complaints handling and whatnot, that regardless of who you are, big, small, med device, pharma, or whatnot, we all share the same core principles of what that is. So it's easier to actually build these together with best practices into something that is kind of ready to move to work out of the box. So um, that's the actual reality. So we're trying, at least from our part here in the dot compliance side, to really try to shatter the status quo. And the couple message here are pretty significant in the sense that really ask yourself, do you need to really waste quite a bit of time and money on, for example, customization of systems that come to you pretty much clear, blank canvas, and then you have to build everything from scratch, right? As opposed to work with something that's already there. And really, the evolution of systems, too, back to this discussion about cloud, is that we still have a lot of legacy systems out there. I'm still blown away every time I go to a Costco, for example, where they have the green on black screens, right? I mean, these systems are pretty old. It's pretty amazing, and they still are out there, and still they work with them, which is fine. But and legacy systems have been great for their time, but now it's time to move on, right? We don't go and rent CDs anymore at a Redbox or something, or what used to be Blockbuster. We just stream, right? So
Hmm.
here too, again, seriously, it's time to kind of move on from legacy to modern solutions, cloud-based, and also take advantage of the fact that things are ready to be used for the most part. We use an analogy of an Airbnb, which I think resonates quite well with everybody I speak with. Where imagine you go into an Airbnb house and there's all these rooms. The rooms represent different business processes in the context of quality and compliance and regulatory, and every single room is fully furnished, right? Not only it has the furniture is positioned exactly where it's supposed to be based on industry standards, best practices, GAMP5, ISO requirements. It's all there. Just bring your clothes and enjoy the house. And
Nice.
really, this is the same idea here, right? And by the way, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that the furniture is cemented to the ground. Like, you might not like where the couch is positioned. You want to move it to the other side of the room, or you actually don't like the coffee table. You insist on bringing your own coffee table from your home. Sure, that's fine and doable. But at the same time, you're not starting with a room that has nothing in it, which is what takes time and costs money and a lot of headache. So, cost and complexity and quality, as it states here, should not be the norm anymore, really. And there's a lot of options to take you to a whole different approach around this.
Couldn't agree more. I'm
So,
going to drop the next poll. I remember,
yes,
where are you in the product life cycle is going to come through. If everyone could give us a sense, it's gonna help inform Mickey for his demo.
thank you.
Go
Very
for
good.
it.
Okay, in the meantime, I want to talk very quickly about, I think we have just a couple more slides, and I want to jump into the actual demo itself, which I think should be interesting to the attendees. So we've been around actually since 2007. We actually started as a consultancy in the life sciences space, and then a number of years ago decided to do like a 180-degree shift and become a software vendor, recognizing the need to move away from the complexity and the costly and the time consuming to something that, customers can really get going and move quickly and whatnot. And this is true for every size organization in the medical device space. We honestly focus a lot on the SMB market because that's where a lot of companies really, in our mind, want to focus on getting their products out in the market, right? And then they really need systems that are ready to use because they just don't want to spend time and money and effort. They have their day-to-day jobs to do, right, to focus on their particular objective. So we offer a holistic and an innovative end-to-end quality and compliance solution. It's powered by a platform called salesforce.com. So we decided to adopt one of the top, I want to say top 3 or top 5 technology infrastructures in the world. Very robust, been around for a long time, very secure, very capable, very modern with built-in machine learning and AI and big data analysis type of capabilities for the benefit of whoever uses this. So the other thing here, which is important to note, is we include all these core quality assurance processes. So back to the analogy of the Airbnb, we've already put in all the furniture for you. And the furniture is in different rooms that covers all the core QMS plus more regulatory and other areas that for medical device companies are very important, such as design control, device history and device master records, a lot of PLM processes, things of that nature, electronic batch record management. So we do a lot of that as well. The system, needless to say, is completely in compliance with all of those listed down here, all the 21 CFR requirements. So we have the built-in audit trails and electronic signatures, and we are the GXP support across the board, the ISO that matter to manufacturers and whatnot. And again, we really help you with getting real visibility across the board. Back to my point about the world of COVID, this is the situation where you really, regardless of the circumstances outside, you want to be able to continue to do whatever you need to do. So with a system like Dot Compliance and others that are cloud, really, it doesn't matter that you're quarantined. It doesn't matter that your team can't actually access an actual storage facility of documents at an office, right? You can access everything from everywhere, anytime. Keep collaborating with your teams, even if they're across the globe. Continue to do training, continue to produce documentation, be able to submit to the FDA or to Canadian authorities or EU authorities, and even do remote audits, right? That's a concept that a lot of people were shying away from, but had to do it and onboard new vendors, right, remotely. All of that is through the ability of systems like this that are enablers to be able to do that. So you go basically uninterrupted with your business. Okay, I think this kind of slide covers a lot of what we talked a lot about. So just to summarize the paradigm shift here, the ready to use is a key thing. Just start with something that is ready to use. It's not always going to be 100% one-to-one match with your requirements. No system will ever be. But if it's 90%, 85%, even 80%, why not, right? Especially if it has the ability to make adjustments later on to bring it further up to match your requirements, right? And just enjoy seamless deployment, get up and running quickly and start working with it, and then expand from that into many other areas that you care for, right? So if you have a system that can address and check the box around multiple requirements, the more the better, potentially, especially from a user adoption perspective as well. So and everything here should be cost effective, right? That too, because again, you want to spend the money on getting your your products out the door, getting your approvals, and commercializing it. That's where most of the money should be spent.
Exactly.
Okay, this kind of summarized the ecosystem. After that, I'd love to kind of jump in and I don't know if you want to put in the last poll before I
Okay,
do that.
sure. Let me drop that last poll question for everybody.
Okay, very cool. Okay, very interesting. I see design
Mm-hmm.
traceability is yeah, that's a very important part of the eQMS solution, and an area that we definitely provide a solution for. So
And it's neat
um,
given where the audience is on the product life cycle. It totally makes sense. And it's nice to see the collaboration, right? People, we're used to it in so many other ways in our life and chatting with our cloud solutions to be able to do it more and more in our eQMS. And it's interesting because a lot of the old school quality really struggled with the collaboration or chatting aspects that could happen in these eQMS solutions, but now we're realizing that we can handle it and move forward. So it's neat to see people wanting that.
yeah, and honestly, we didn't have a choice, right? Even if we struggle
Right.
with it, yeah, I mean, it's just COVID came and just made us
It
all
did.
like, adopt these collaboration tools because we had to. We had no choice.
Right.
So
It's funny. I used to say 2019 was kind of the year of eQMS. That was the year when we saw a lot more people finally coming to start companies, not wanting to do them in paper. Thankfully, and then 2020 just I mean I mean
right.
we had to move on.
This is obviously a trend that cuts across all industries, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
that the
Yeah.
life science industry, medical device is unique in that way, but yeah, this is a core requirement these days, especially
Yeah.
because of what we went through. So if anybody had any doubts, right, or was trying to kind of just delay and okay, we'll deal with it sometime by 2030, the time is now, right? Like you have to
Right.
do it now. There's no other way. So,
And I
okay,
think that's the aspect that the life sciences were unique was that there was so much fear and hesitation and they just kind of wanted to like not deal with it. And now they have to deal with it. We have to, and it's great because it's just been so much benefit for the business, so much more efficiencies. Um, Go
for
for it.
sure, for sure. Okay, let me kind of jump into, I'll share a couple of slides here really quickly on what we're going to see. So can you see my screen,
Yep.
Nicolle? Okay, wonderful. So I covered some of this very quickly, but some of the basics, obviously, in terms of key features is listed here. Again, as I mentioned, the furniture is all in place, right? So if you look here on the right, there's a Visio diagram. We've built these
Mm-hmm.
workflows and life cycles for the core processes, everything, design control, document control, training, complaint handling, post-market surveillance stuff, all of that is built in the system already. One of our core business processes, which is typically the highest sought after room, I should say, in this house to begin with, is the document management space, right? The document management system, the ability to basically house all of the documents that need to be controlled in one place and be able to share it, right, as needed. So we have things here that include, of course, the review and approval cycles that go together based on 21 CFR Part 11. We have Office 365 integration tools as well. A lot of companies today use kind of like either the Google Docs, Office 365 collaboration where we can in parallel work together, right, on documents
Mm-hmm.
and review them and then approve. We have seamless integration with the training module as well, which includes any type of training, not just read and understand of SOPs, work instructions, but you can do on-the-job training, awareness training, classroom training for sure as well. So again, the idea here is to ensure that the risk is mitigated and everybody that is doing their job in the organization is at any time trained on what they are doing, right? Because I think that's one of the top items. I want to say 3 items that are noted by auditors across the board in this industry is the lack or the inability to prove, right, and to show, demonstrate training compliance. It's a big thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
We also,
usually what I find is like one of the big compelling reasons to move into an eQMS is just that training process, and managing it can be so cumbersome. So one of the leading reasons to move in when your company gets past 2 people and you're
for
trying.
sure. I see a lot of younger organizations, medical device companies that do start with an Excel, which is legit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, once you start hitting the 25, 30, 50 employees, it
Oh,
just
yeah.
becomes impossible to
Yeah.
manage this Excel. It goes out of
Totally.
control very quickly,
Yeah.
right?
Untenable.
So,
Yeah.
yes. We have this one other feature that kind of goes hand in hand with documentation called binders. So a lot of companies need to be able to compile different types of documentation or other artifacts into basically a binder, right? And then submit this entire binder either to a regulatory body, or they want to send a binder that includes multiple work instructions to, a CMO or any type of other vendor, or even to a customer, right? So there are many use cases to this where you can kind of build a different hierarchy here, manage a life cycle on the binder itself, and basically then export this and submit this to whoever needs to see it and get it. This is a unique feature that we have, which again is aimed or geared towards making life easier in the world of quality management. We call it electronic forms or protocol builder. So you're able to basically build on the fly as a client yourself any type of form, electronic. It could be a questionnaire, it could be a checklist, it could be a survey, it could be a replica of any type of form. And you see here an example on the screen, for example, for cleaning equipment verification. The nice thing about it is that it also runs through a cycle where you approve and make it an active form, and you can have different versions of it. But also, it's a fully validated functionality. So when you make these forms, you don't have to validate them. The functionality itself from the get-go is validated, and that's a huge time saver and reduces a lot of headache. We
Mm-hmm.
talked about training. Again, I'm not going to repeat that. Of course, you want to be able to see at any given time in real time who's trained on what. We have this kind of dashboard. We call it the Hall of Fame or the Hall of Shame, right? Seeing who's behind, who's slacking, and whatnot. Nobody wants to be in the Hall of Shame, of course. Change control, very important for medical device companies. The whole engineering change orders and the ability to associate that with the bill of material of the actual device that is being structured, see this tree view, associate that with the design elements, see where risk needs to be mitigated and reduced. All of those things kind of all tied together. Very important feature and business process. We also are able to manage supplier quality here in the system. So a lot of companies obviously these days work with suppliers and vendors of all sorts of types with different criticality. The ability to onboard the suppliers and manage throughout their life cycle with scorecards and associate any issues that are in the quality space with these vendors, right? One of the nice things in terms of collaboration is the ability to bring suppliers actually into the system. Like there's a single source of truth now. So instead of having to exchange emails, I send my supplier a report or an issue, and they like, oh, I didn't get the email, or oh, it
Mm-hmm.
was in my spam, or there was no attachment, or I did send back to you, didn't you get it? Like you kind of move away from all those kind of excuses,
Right.
because when everybody interacts with one single source of system and solution, then the audit trail kicks in, and you know exactly, right, as the
Mm.
company, when were they in, if they were in, what is it that they did or didn't do. There's no escape, right? So it just creates like a more rigor type of environment, and just move away from all those emails and whatnot, which create a lot of problems. So last
Plus
but not
different
least,
people. I always love that. And you have like 2 different engineers setting the supplier, 2 different versions. And now they can go to one source. I like that.
That's the other thing too. Yes, for sure, because you then but have them look at the exact document that is effective, right? Or a work
Right.
instruction that has changed. They always are pulling from the latest and greatest because they don't have any of those older versions. It's all electronically and it's superseded and removed away from where it is. We talked about visibility in terms of a challenge, right? And knowing what's going on at any given time. And so reporting and the ability basically to use big data type of analysis tools are also available here, right? So all the way from the executive level down to the shop floor employee, they want to be able to see what's going on, right? And so dashboards and reports are essential. And one other thing, going back to the concept of pre-built, ready to use, is we've actually built over 50, I want to say 50 to 60 reports already. For all of the core ones, they're all there. Essentially, you don't even have to put together any effort on the report side because we've done the legwork for you. Of course, you can build
Nice.
any other reports you want and have different types. There's also dashboards already built in the system. Once you start using the system, it populates the data, the reports are available, and you can see exactly what you need and what you want. Again, going back to the legacy world, and I remember personally because I've been in the space for many, many years, there was a lot of time and effort that had to go into report building, and some of the report tools were quite complex. The era of crystal reports, for example, or other type of SQL, yeah, not easy, right? And God forbid if you needed to make a change, it was very significant. Again, you want to make things simpler, and the tools today allow for that. But people want to just start using and benefiting right away from
Hmm.
this. So, okay, I'm going to switch gears here and kind of get into the system itself, if that's okay.
Yeah, as you do that, I just want to remind everybody, if you have questions, you can drop them in the chat. I'll interrupt Mickey with anything. We have the chat private just so that you feel safe and comfortable putting whatever you want in there. I'll look at it and we'll get those questions out. So don't hesitate.
Very cool. Thank you. So, I'll do kind of like a 30,000 feet overview here. Obviously, QMS systems, and this one is no different, has a lot of moving parts to it. There's a lot of stuff. And, I can speak about the system for hours, but we don't have the luxury and the time. So I think 15 minutes, and then we'll open it up for questions, of course, and we'll go from there. So I mentioned earlier the fact that QMS systems, modern systems ready to use, should be able to be accessible pretty much anytime, anywhere, and on any device, right? So pretty much everywhere has internet connection these days, and all you need really is just a browser, a URL for the actual link to your company's specific system. Of course, a username and password. Everything here is based on permissions, high security. You control the permissions of who can actually see or do what in the system. And essentially, you're in the system. We have a mobile application as well. So again, the idea is that there are no limitations there, right? You want to make it accessible and very easy to do the work you need to do or consume the information as quickly as possible. So everybody kind of lands on this home tab in the system. And where they can see, so we're a compliance system. Okay, what is it that I have to do, my actions, and I have a bunch of them. As you can see, I'm a little bit slacking behind here in terms of the numbers, but items that are pending my signature, revisions, and even trainings. I have 5 open trainings. If I click on them, I can see what those are. So the combination of classroom awareness, as I mentioned, and also a read and understand of a particular SOP, one other click, and you're actually in the training assignment that you have as a user. In this case, you can see the information in here and the details about when this training is due, so it's quite overdue actually. And as you can see here too, you can build business rules to essentially state that you cannot complete this unless you take an exam. If I go to the file preview, I can actually see what this sample SOP looks like. Here it is. Okay, that's taking it obviously from the document management system in a PDF format. I do my reading. Maybe I want to also support my trainees with some video support, right? I can link to different videos or other materials. In this case, just some YouTube video. And also, this is where the exam is. So you can build any type of an exam or assessment here in the system. It's leveraging, again, our what we call a protocol builder capability. In this case, it's like an Office 365 exam. As a matter of fact, you see here that if I try to complete this training under the Actions button, and it's going to ask me for my electronic signature, I did not complete the exam, right? So gonna get this notification saying, okay, dude,
Nice
please
try.
complete the nice try, please complete the exam. Okay. So things of that nature. And of course the history tab is going to include all the audits in it and whatnot. I'm going to go back to the home tab and move one area back down here to the dashboard. I mentioned a few minutes ago the importance of dashboard metrics and reporting. So we have multiple types of dashboard. This is just representing one of them, QA management. You can actually subscribe to dashboards as well, which is really cool. Have the dashboard come to you, right? Based on a frequency. You can actually edit recipients and add if you want to send it to your boss or other managers. You can do that as well.
We have a two-part question, and one of the parts that really applies to what's going on right here is there customization and reporting to account for business KPIs that calculate across quality data?
So we don't like the word customization because the customization word implies that there might be some coding or some work that needs to be done that's more complex. This is a point and click type of setup system. So if we have a whole list of reports here under this tab. I said I think there's 50 something. If you need more reports, if you want to pull reports like data from different places and pull them all together, all you need to go in here is go into the report section and basically build a report yourself. There's a wizard that guides you through it. As a matter of fact, we have a built-in help center. I have it open in here. It's a knowledge center. And if you go to the reports and dashboards, there's actually a manual on how, and a video on how to create reports. So again, it's very business oriented. There's no special need in terms of training to know, SQL or some other kind of more complicated tools. Obviously, there's a little bit of training just to know how to set up reports. You can actually take our existing reports and tweak them a little bit, right? Just take what we have, make some changes to it, remove some fields and whatnot. The reports are always going to be one level down from the dashboard. So if I want to look at all my deviations or if I have non-conformances in here, this is my report, okay? And if I want to add some more columns, I literally can just go and edit this and I will go into the report builder. And again, this is super easy. I mean, obviously, again, it's a new system. You might need to, just do some of the training, but again, I can drag and drop from fields and put them in here, and I can put some filters if I want to, and then run a new report or save it under a new name, and that's all there is to it. So again, very
It's
very
funny,
easy to do.
the word custom. I get it, but the nice thing is being on the Salesforce platform. There's so much information there that you can look at however you want to look at it. And
Correct.
it feels like customization for some of us, but I get it. It's not the coding kind of customization that we're used to with more of our archaic systems.
Exactly.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I just want to say you brought up a good point, because we leverage a lot of the Salesforce capabilities in terms of technology. Even just Googling how to create a report in Salesforce, there's like so much stuff out there, right? I mean, they're a company that has, I don't know, 500,000 customers worldwide. So it's just a lot of rich content available. And it's going to be the same for our reporting as it is for the other reports for any other tools. So sorry, you had a question.
Well, the other part of the question comes along with workflows. When we get to that, I'll remember to ask you.
Sure. And in the Help Center here, there's an area called Lifecycle Flow Diagram. So as I mentioned, these are rooms, right? Modules, if you want to call them. We don't like to use the word module too, because again, it might imply siloed systems, right? Whereas in our case, everything is under one roof, right? But we've already built all this. This is a blueprint here, and I have it open, of basically how the system is set up, right? So if I look to, I don't know, document revision, the workflows, this is how the system is already built out of the box. We've configured it that way. And you can look at this, and if you want to add a step or two, remove steps, or add another electronic signature, you can, for sure. The beauty is in the fact that we've already done the work for you, and we've also validated this for you. So I encourage typically a lot of our customers to really take a hard look at the furnitures and where they're positioned and ask themselves, can this work for you? Because this is based on best practices, right? So, but again, if you need to, you can make changes, of course, in the system. So that's the workflows. Okay, so we talked about the dashboard. Just one last thing here is the ability to search. Of course, we're all Amazon users, right? I want to say, and very simple, same idea here. When you go to Amazon, you're looking to buy shoes. You start at the top, right, and you click on shoes, and then on the left you get like all sorts of options. You start filtering, and the same idea here. When I click here, the system is going to suggest, first of all, some recent items. Maybe I want to go back to those. But if I want to look for anything that has the word clean in it, for example, I just click on my return kind of key here. And as you can see, it's searching the entire system for anything that has the word clean in it. As a matter of fact, it can also look into specific documentation to find the word clean within a document. And then it'll give me some results here. And if I want to look at, I don't know, deviations, for example, I can see I have one deviation with the word clean in it, and I can refine if I had multiple results here, of course, just like, on the Amazon side. And it doesn't have to be a generic word. It could be like a particular SOP, 1, 2, 3. I use this quite a bit, right? So I'm going to have a bunch of SOPs here. And if I need to from here, I can actually filter already based on, let's say, document revisions. Again, SOP 1, 2, 3, it's going to look only for document revisions. So needless to say, the ability to search is very important. Okay. The document, I'm going to move to the first room essentially, and this is where the documents are. Again, everything here is permission based, and we have these different types of lists. A lot of them are pre-built, so I can look at all my effective control documents in the system. Okay, and I can change this list if I want to. Just going to look at an example of a document here for this demo purpose. We have the document here. We have the ability to add the metadata here. I don't think I chose a good example here. Let me go back to my recently viewed. I just clicked on the first one that was available. Let's use this one here. Okay, this one is better. There's my document. I got my header and my footer, and I got my signatory table here at the end, which we basically append this area here. As you can see here, we had multiple versions of it in the past. I can see all the older versions because I'm an admin in the systems, and we put watermarks on all the documents to make sure nobody uses this, right?
And are there certain users who wouldn't see history? They only see the present effective one?
Exactly.
And then when you are back at the effective, there's what would be other categories that you would be, and I'm assuming that would only be certain people.
Yeah, the effective one, like in this case, sorry, let me go back to this level. You see I have the effective document, which is what I'm looking at here right now, revision 6.0, but there's a 6.8 being worked on. Nobody really knows that it's being worked on except for those who participate in the process of bringing this document ultimately to become effective. And as you can see here, it's in the pending approval state, which is this. It's got the watermark on it, okay? Now, once we move it to training in progress, these training plans are going to kick in, and that's when I'm going to be able to initiate my training prior to making this effective if I want to anybody who has this in their job position. And I can see in real time also a training report on completion by site and by people, including scores on exams and whatnot.
Now I'm noticing that cool tab on Chatter. So when this is in the early stages, you have people who are invited and to work on this document, and they can chat with each other over there.
Of course, and you can define the signatories, and you can add, different types of individuals or even groups of people. So I want to add all of quality assurance to this, right? I can do that if I want to. and now they're in here as part of the approval process, right? So it could be all sorts of combination of, and yeah, the chatter is built in here, and I can, just like in any social media, just click on,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm spelling your name correct, Nicolle, and of course you're not in the system, but I can, give you a message here. Please take a look at
Mm-hmm.
this, and that's it. You'll get that in real time, and you can
Nice.
come in. Of course, there's notifications and whatnot. We talked about the binders very briefly, but again, the ability to go into a binder, in this case, maybe a dossier file, it's got its own life cycle. You can bring to an effective state and work on multiple documents and artifacts. They're all linking to the document system. I can also manage tasks against this, kind of like a project plan, and see what's overdue, completed, and in progress on this. And when I'm done, I can export this entire thing with a click of a button, send it as an email with attachments or without attachments. And that's how I submit, a whole dossier file, let's say, to
Mm.
my regulatory body, or to any of my production partners or whatnot, if I need to send out a work instruction of the entire design, right? So same thing for trial files and things of that nature. We can do that as well. Going to the next room, or this is more of the functionality we talked about on the protocol or the electronic form builder. Very easy to build, as I mentioned. You build the form. It is also already pre-validated, and you can gain statistics on these different forms, per questions and items that have been used. It's got a lot of capabilities in terms of calculations and whatnot in the system. And just to give you an example of one that's been already executed, this is kind of what it looks like in terms of the form. And you can actually share the form with a contact, send it outside, and send it to a person here who might be a customer, employee, or supplier, have them populate a form for you and send it back with a click of a button. That's a very nice feature. A lot of
It is really nice, and they don't have to have a seat in the program. They don't
They
have
don't.
to.
They don't.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just kind of cognizant of our time. Change control, obviously very important, and we have the full end-to-end change control workflow built in here, together with the ability to run assessments and the impact analysis, identify the design risks that come with this engineering change, ultimately run a plan with the action plans. As you can see here, the system can create relationships. So because we're under this one roof, one house, everything can talk to each other very easily. And there's a lot of use cases for, the interconnecting related objects or related records one with each other, right? So
Mm-hmm.
super important around that. Of course, all the quality events are built in here, and CAPAs, deviations, complaints. I can go through a lot of these different examples. We also have, as I mentioned, if I go here to the top left, our audit management. I don't know if I mentioned that. We have a full audit management solution. The batch records, maintenance of instruments, and calibration activities. If anybody is using all sorts of tools and they need to go through routine maintenance, or they have malfunctions and whatnot, we manage that as well. And I think last but not least, we talked about the ability for everybody, including external stakeholders, to interact with the system. This is just an example of, let's say, a supplier point of view, where
Mm.
you can share a particular window that is predefined with them, where they can go and look, for example, at all their scars, right? The supplier corrective
Mm-hmm.
action. Click on that, they see what's associated with them. And you see here, it's actually a stripped kind of view, right? You don't want to give them access to everything, just what's applicable to them, and they can go in and look at the information on the form and on this particular corrective action that's been associated with. Okay, I'll stop there and see if there's any other questions. There's a lot to talk about in the context here, but hopefully this gave you a pretty good overview in terms of one system, one same look and feel, everything kind of pre-built, a lot of functionality, of course, including the workflows that are all built to support, the ISO 13485, 21 CFR, EU Annex 11, all these things have already been built in here to support that.
While I wait to have some other questions come in, there's a person I'm thinking of that's been looking for an eQMS solution for a while. I'm doing my hair
Hmm.
there. And they're all paper, and they're kind of they've been around for a long time, so they have a lot of records that they would need to convert. For somebody like that, what's the best way to get into your system? How do you see those people come in?
Most of the customers that come in have already have accumulated some amount of
Mm-hmm.
data or documents, right? So typically we also help with migrating these papers into the system, whether it's from a legacy system or from paper.
Mm-hmm.
I think the questions around that would be like, how far back do you want to go, right? Do you want to like
Right.
cut it at certain points, say, okay, I'm going to move these, or maybe just the effective ones, and the superseded or the ones that are old, I'm holding them somewhere as an archive until they really become obsolete and whatnot. There's different approaches to that. You don't necessarily want to bring everything in all the time, but you can if you'd like to. Depends on the volume and if the need is there.
Mm-hmm.
We have built-in tools to do migration. We have we have the processes and procedures to do that. So we help customers go through that process because everybody has, some level of legacy information that
Right.
they want to bring, unless they really just started yesterday or a couple months
Right.
ago, like a true startup. So,
Right.
um, yeah, I mean, we're just doing right now a huge migration for a customer, 30,000 documents,
Mm.
600,000 training records. Yeah, significant volumes that will go from one system to the other. But everybody takes a different approach on that, and we're happy to kind of recommend and consult on what could be a good practice to handle it.
Okay, we have a question, Ryan. Jeff, thanks for dropping a question in. Ryan, what he says is he's got so for someone who's completely new to medical devices, looking to bring a class 1 device to market, would this system be ideal for us? His worry is that I'll have the system, but no real direction on how to use it to its full potential and required potentially by the FDA.
So one of the things that we're a complete kind of software vendor, but we're subject matter experts as well. So we have a lot of kind of recommendations and guidance that we can provide. I didn't even mention that we also have sample SOPs that really we offer as part of our subscription to help companies that don't even have that, right, around the different
Mm-hmm.
business processes. And last but not least, we have partners that actually focus specifically on helping medical device companies with guidance, right? How to navigate the process to get stuff out, to submission, 510, all those. So in the areas where, this is where kind of like our turf ends, we can bring the other ones if, a client here needs that type of guidance. We have those partners that we work with. And it's the other way around because oftentimes I have medical device companies start with these partners, and then at some point they're ready to go
Yeah.
to the QMS software, and that's when they bring us in. So
Mm-hmm.
either way works fine, but yeah, we help with that as well.
And as far as class, just to get into the other part of Ryan's question, it seems pretty agnostic for classification, and it didn't seem like your
It
system
is.
is particularly,
It
coded
is a
for
lot
class
of,
3. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
It is built agnostic that way. As I mentioned, we focus only in life sciences. We don't really do
Mm-hmm.
anything outside of life sciences because different industries have different nuances for sure. And we want to focus here because that's where our background is. We have people on our team that come from the medical device space and pharma and biotech. But also, we make sure that we go deep when it comes to the medical device requirements. And there are obviously some nuances when it comes to class 1 versus 2 versus 3. But ultimately, the system is agnostic to cover the entire spectrum of the different needs. So not a problem at all.
Um, question from, so I'm not sure I understand your question, Ryan. Is this QMS from Cannon Quality Group similar to what Greenlight Guru offers? So this is not a Cannon Quality Group eQMS. This is dot compliance.
Mm-hmm.
And so dot compliance, we aren't in the software business at all. We are just a service provider. And And Mickey, I think you'd be the best to answer dot compliance compared to Greenlight Guru. Everybody does seem to know about Greenlight because they have a marketing machine. So they seem to be in the front question for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. And I've been in this QMS space for over 15 years, and I personally have worked for some of the larger vendors out there, Viva Systems, Sparta Systems. So I know pretty much all the players quite well, and I respect everybody very much. There are differences for sure, and there are nuances. Greenlight Guru is a very good tool and very, very focused on medical device. They have their own proprietary underlying technology, which again, it's theirs, it's good. We obviously leverage a different type of technology with Salesforce that has a lot of fundamental innovation in it as well. But also, for customers that actually are using, for example, Salesforce for other stuff like CRM or service or whatnot, it kind of makes sense for them to invest in one type of technology and bring also their QMS, to work with these other ones. And there's a lot of use cases that go together. So, there's differences in terms of user interface. We are pretty wide in what we do, and we do medical device, but we also do pharma and we also do biotech, as opposed to Greenlight Guru is very much just medical device focused. Again, don't want to speak too much about the differences here right now, but there are differences for sure. I think back to what we started, we are the ones that are changing the paradigm with the ready to use out of the box, right? Fully validated, which is not the case with Greenlight Guru. You're going to have to still configure, build the system, go through requirements workshop gathering, and then go through the validation step, which is anybody who's been in validation knows it's a huge headache, not to mention the cost associated with validation. So we've done the legwork for you, and we give you a validation package. It's included in our subscription. It's got over 30 different documents. It's huge. It literally it's like a shortcut, right? An accelerated, let's just go all the way to the end and have it ready. And that, I would say, is the biggest difference here, not only for between us and Greenlight, anybody else, right, in the space just doesn't have that. And going back 15 years, a lot of companies have talked about, and they tell you we have an out-of-box solution. A lot of them had the talk, but didn't really walk the talk. We're walking the talk. So that's essentially the big difference.
Nice. In the final 3 minutes, anybody else has any questions? Oh, Ryan saying thank you.
Thank you for the questions. They're great.
Yeah, I really appreciate chiming in. I also appreciate everyone doing the polls. It's been great. I'm just thinking about Ryan's question, and it is, this is why we're doing this, and so that people can really kind of talk to you all, have a chance to see a little bit, and help figure out what's going to be the best solution for them. And I really, I want to say thank you to you and your team for being here. The openness to have these conversations and let people safely, have a demo and get some of their questions out without feeling like, they have to commit to a conversation. It's sometimes really nice. And a lot of these, you guys can see, will be available online to watch, or share with somebody if, people are, we certainly get a lot of questions around the solutions out there. And like, I think when you started, I think the focus is really figuring out what your organization is and what solution will work best for you. And it's really nice to see more and more people diving in. I want to thank you, Mickey. I want to thank the Dot Compliance team. Thank everybody for coming, and we'll see you at the next one.
Yes, thank you so much, Nicolle. Really appreciate you and the Cannon Quality Group having us today here, and I thank everybody that attended, and appreciate the questions, and stay safe out there.
Yeah, truly.
Truly, yes.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.